Welcome to RP Gamepire and another solo co-op adventure board game, and this time it's from Privateer Press, from the Iron Kingdoms RPG adventure board game. It's one of their first attempts to set up a miniatures board games, aside from the other tabletop games which they're known famously for, which is the War Machines, which is pretty much warjacks and big mechanized combat, etc. This one was the first of their attempt. It came out in 2015, and it was with the assistance of Ulysses, a German company which is known for Dark Eye RPG, Aventuria, which is another adventure game which we will talk of later on. Now, this is an Iron Kingdoms adventure board game, and Witterer's Wood is also an adventure board game made by Privateer Press. After this one, they pretty much came out with the Black River Irregulars, which is a Heroes expansion, and while this one, they added much more characters, much more of enemies that are encounters, etc. with the Witterer's Wood Dead Man Walking campaign expansion, which we will talk very soon. And those expansions, and what makes this game great, is the reason why you see it together, because they're interchangeable. You could use whatever components from either one of these boxes and the expansions together. Otherwise, I won't say that I won't recommend it, but I would say that I recommend it because of the fact that you could take this, like the recent game that I presented to you with Dragonfire. What makes it beautiful, even though it's a card deck building game, it's in the D&D world of the Sword Coast. These games, you could take it and make more of it, and with your family you can have many adventures, or your friends, or even yourself. And that's what makes these games great to have and to keep, because the imagination can always expand, and I'll show you more as we discuss the components. In this case, I'm going to do a revealing instead of an unboxing. The difference is we will take components and piece by piece, as I also review and tell you my shared thoughts and experience, and also of why I think this is something remarkable and something that you should check, and why you should play it, and what makes it great. Now, a lot of them will talk about the art in past reviewers and reviews, or they'll talk it's a little too complicated, or it's too bland, or etc. Again, when you compare it to other games, there is always a falter. You're talking here the Worlds of Iron Kingdoms RPG by Privateer Press, which was a very good RPG. I personally never did play it, but I experienced it through this series, which made me fall in love with it. Because it gave you that feel of deepness RPG, and you can interact with the characters, and you could immerse into something more than what the stories here that give you. The box design, the art is beautiful, as you could personally see. Now, it kind of stylish, more for the 2000s, or the 90s style, kind of nice art. It's not known for today's. And the difference with this design and most other games is it's not that flashy, but it gives you that fantasy feel and gives you that deep immersion into there's a deep story going on. The difference between this one, which is in the Undercity, and the Witterer's Wood, very important to know, and the reason why I like it. Usually some complained, why didn't they continue the Corvus storyline, which is the Undercity, and the Undercity is based on one of the main cities within the Iron Kingdoms. I like the fact it gave you the experience of the outdoors, so you can expand your story. You're not limited to what's going on in the city. You can go out there and venture around the city and create your own adventures. Now, each one come with their own 7 adventures, which make it great. Don't forget, I told you, if you're going to go and buy it, Privateer Press has kind of given up on it a little bit, and it's sad to hear that. All right, but you could still get it, you could still buy it. It's still purchasable in many other places like the Amazon, Amazon.ca or Amazon.com or Amazon, wherever you are. And more importantly, you can get it on BGG Market. You can also get it on eBay, etc. There's other places. It's worth a buy if you love solo co-op adventure and to expand anything RPG in a sense, because I'll show you the boards, and the boards are something which is amazing in itself, because you could use it for any other kind of great adventures, and you'll see why I love the boards in this game compared to many others, and we'll talk about that more. That also had some negativity from other reviewers who I won't say were spoiled by the other board games where there's the cardboard, mishmash and tiles, etc. You put them together and the nice art and all flashiness. The most important part is not, aside from the art, which I think the art is good enough, is also the components and can you expand from it. To me, the solo co-op are not one-time shots. They're supposed to be replayability and they're supposed to give you imagination. If they fault in those two, they don't fall into that, to me, in that facet, in that component, in that love, in that understanding. And this is what makes this game great. All right, I'm going to show you the box for the Witterer's Wood Dead Man Walking campaign expansion box. I don't have the Black River expansion, which is only an expansion for characters, and with the vastness of characters that you're provided, close to 15 I believe, or a little bit more, we'll see that soon enough when you talk component breakdowns. Then you will see the vastness, the interchangeable and the difference component. And you can also, if you go further and you get the adventure RPG in Iron Kingdoms, you can create your own characters, etc., and go beyond from there. More importantly, you could see here it says compatible with the Undercity. Each one comes with 7 adventure. You could play them one shot off scenarios, but they're better off played as the full campaign, so you get into the story and the love of the story. Here's another 7. The most beautiful thing, later on they came out with in-betweener scenarios. What I mean by that, as this one came with only 7, then they added in-betweener. That means like after chapter 1 you could play chapter 1.5 before you play chapter 2, and chapter 2.5 before you play chapter 3, which kind of expanded the storyline and also some offshoot scenario stories. Okay, now the components themselves, they're very, very nice. The art in the back, as always, nice, very explanatory. And unlike many, they don't talk just only about the components, but they kind of immerse you into that love of the story. And here they tell you that you need the Undercity and the Witterer's Wood pretty much to have this expansion. Obviously an expansion, but they add 3 more adventures to here and also to here, which makes it more amazing. They add more tiles, more creatures, and more choices, a variety, which is good for anything that you could play. They also tell you that it's also usable with the Iron Kingdoms adventure, which I like. Now that we talked about the art, let's show you the back art for each box, and this one is for the Undercity. Okay, wrong way. As you could see, again, here there's different races. Here it says 14 plus. Understandably so. It's a little more difficult to understand in D&D, but once you get the breakdown and someone is there to explain it to you, it's very simple, very straightforward to play. And 61-20 minutes is pretty much on the ball. And 2 to 4 players. Again, you need all 4 characters to always play. It could be a little fiddly and a bit annoying, but once you get the hang of it, as I said, the breakdown is very easy. You could play 2 players that each play 2 characters, or you could play 4 people, 4 characters. But again, all 4 characters I kind of needed to play the game. All right, and pretty much, let's see the Witterer's Wood background. And as you could see, I don't know why they're upside down, the art. And I like that. You got a froggy character. A froggy character. Ain't that cool? And I've played a lot of adventures. I rarely see they go to that vastness. And there's some characters, like you'll see later, like this one look like a boar, This one looks like a urukai. I won't go into that. But again, this is very beautifully done. And I'm very, very, very impressed. And here it says, heroes slashed out, monsters wanted. Because this is so much into the woods. The heroes themselves are like almost like monsters. Perceived as monsters, I say. Now that's beautiful. All right, now let's talk the next component, which is what every great base box has. And don't forget, this is itself is a standalone game, the Witterer's Wood, and it came out with other expansions like which you could use for this solely, and also the Black River Irregulars character expansion you could use for this. And this is a standalone also. You don't need to have one or the other, but it's beautiful to have them all. And at this point, you can get pretty much used or new pretty much on a good price. And if you could, I would get it. All right. Now, this is the rule book, and it's pretty much 20 pages. And the thing that I love about it, not a lot of rule books do that, and not a lot of books do that. But if they're coming from already a licensed, pretty much trademark or a product that has deepness and vast lore, do share it. And they do. They talk to you about the game, which most rule books do, and present like, what's your base, what's your objective, what are you doing? And this one tells you about the Iron Kingdoms. It tells you even the city, you know. And this has no relation. You didn't even open the campaign rulebook. This is just the rulebook how to play, you know. And here's the components, the description. Just they don't tell you just the name of it. They tell you, explain the components. They tell you how to set up, what other components there is, you know. There's all sorts of markers, all sorts of tile elements. Here's the complexity, right? There's different kind of walls, different kind of structures, character sheets. And the characters here, you know, there's not like 3 or 4 stats. There's quite a few attributes that they have, you know, which you gotta know, right? So aside from the character name, initiative, and character stats, weapon stats, abilities, and second win abilities, they all have, and also look, the base size of characters matter. There's small size, medium, and large characters or enemies. Playing the game. Now, this is beautifully written, beautifully illustrated. It breaks it down, gives you examples. It was well written in the back, key terms, and there's an index. There's no table of contents, which I'm fine with, but there's an index, which is perfect. You don't have to go crazy trying to figure out where's what, where did you read it. And here is any key terms that you need to know. It would be nice to have a reference sheet, but they do give you a reference sheet within the game, which kind of, it's okay, you know? Here is the campaign for the Undercity, okay? This is the campaign book. Again, this one is about 22 pages also. And when you open it up, there's a whole story prologue. Look at that. It's not a snippet, like not to criticize or bash anything, but in most cases, that's what I see in most adventures. In this one, they really write a story. There's a novelty here that you get immersed and you get, you know, taken back by what's going on. The weird part is, like, obviously she gets mentioned in the story, so if you chose totally different 4 characters, kind of be intriguing and weird. But you still get welcomed into the lore, into the story, and you get taken by it, and that's what makes it amazing of a game. Playing the campaign tells you the rules, how to gain experience, etc. The side quests. I gotta say, I'm impressed. Look at that, chapter 1 already. Look at the storyline, plot line. I don't know if you see that, and even after you get defeated, you get all sorts of stories. Now I'm gonna skip, you know, to the end, and look at that. That's the art there. Wow, wow, wow. Let's go to the end, and pretty much in the end, there's even the epilogue. Okay, and more importantly, it tells you what to do between chapters. So regain wound tokens, refill alchemic restoration, revive heroes, trade side quests, character progression, ability cards, etc. It is something wow. Now here is something that we spoke about. If you could see, look at this. This is for Witterer's Wood. Between chapter 5 and 6, you could play this. It's called Orgoth Runes. It tells you the goal, it tells you the little storyline, plot line, etc., the interactions, and this is how you set up the map, this is the enemies, etc. This is the decks that you need to set up, and we're going to go down into the setup section and play through. But here again, look at that, chapter 3.5, Treasure Hunt. Okay, it was a Kickstarter exclusive mission, and it's a little snippet of a story, tells you how to set it up, etc. Totally different scenario. I love it, I love it, I love it. Again, another example. And this is the Dead Man Walking Rulebook. And pretty much you could see from, oh, I love this. Don't you love that? If you paint, you're going to have a field day with this one. All right? And here it tells you again. Talks to you about epic heroes, the campaign options, the villain options, the tiles, new tiles there is, ritual circles, Orgoth this. Remember this when I talk to you about the map. Okay? Alright? The map tiles. or map tile, I should say. It's one big map tile, but we'll discuss it right now. Here's the missions for the Undercity and Witterer's Wood. And new game terms. Well done, well done. Again, this is 1.5. This is for the Black River Irregulars. Like I told you, it was nothing but a character expansion of this 4 characters. Welcome to the party. Epic Heroes. We need you. So there's new core rules. You can play up to 5 to 6 players. Okay. And more importantly, you could see the different, this is a one-shot kind of scenario. In this scenario, you pretty much play against other players. It's like a arena kind of thing, if you know what I mean. It's like you pretty much fight each other out, etc., which is all beautiful. Tokens, components, etc. Here's an Undercity, one of the missions in betweener, 4.5. Here's the reference sheet I was speaking to you about. It pretty much, I got 2 of them, because hence from the 2 games, or should I say 2 expansion, 2 2 base games, 2 base core games. So you could see it explains you everything you need to know about the villain tracker, villain reference sheet, how it works, when to spawn them, etc. And you pretty much can ready and start. This is the Witterer's Wood rulebook. It pretty much introduces some new things, new rules, and new boards, etc., new components, and that's more important to pretty much illustrate that. But more importantly, look again, the game, the Wilds of Imoren, and the Witterer's Wood. I love that. I love that. And here it pretty much tells you that the characters have this facing indicators, etc. That's made for when you play the Iron Kingdoms RPG. Here it tells you again the rules. There's different components, markers, etc. And I love that. I love that. Look at the Undercity board, markers and boards. And you can pretty much see the tiles here. You could use them. They're saying pretty much you could use these tiles if you want within the Witterer's Wood. The rulebook goes on. And in the end, you could see there's much more. Look at that, all these game terms. There's much more. And you got the beautiful index. Can't complain when you see that. And this goes same for the campaign guide. Look, oh my god, look at that. Look at this. Look at the scenarios. Look at the storyline. Before you even play the first chapter. Look at that. Wow. And then when you start the first chapter, you still have a snippet, and you pretty much have to read what's going on, etc., before you even set it up. This is amazing. Look at that storyline. And there's a storyline. The epilogue, the between chapters, etc. And this is the characters pretty much. Don't they look dandy? That ranger looks like a Urukai or like a minotaur, whatever. Looks freaking neat. And as now, let's go open it up and pretty much see the components. Now, the next component I want to speak about is the board. And you see all these tiles right here on the side. And this is the board, and it's only open half to the full extension. As you can see, this is the Undercity map tile. And it's one big tile. And the thing is, one big board, I should more say. But as you can see, people and most of the reviewers complain. It looks flat, it looks blah. But it's not the value that it brings to the table. This, as much as could be used in any of your adventures, you have to put the imagination. With these tiles, you create, with aside from the adventures that they gave with the campaign, you create your own setup and your own adventure and your own component, etc. As you go and set up and imagine your own occurrences within this beautiful Undercity. As you can see, the board itself is coming alive. It's coming together, as they say. But as you can see, I'm setting it up and it comes together with all this map tiles and all this beautiful, landmarks right here, or tiles. You can't see that because it's off the map, but pretty much you could create whatever you want here. All right, here, let's put it right here so you could see better. but it goes on a full extension. This is made to put it together, and then your characters wander around this beautiful board, as you can see in the setup and more importantly in the playthrough. But this is what makes this more beautiful. I love it. Why? Because the today boards, not that they're bad and the art is beautiful and always they put the love into the art. To me, I say what brings this game great and what brings it value is you could take this board and use it in any case of adventures that you have, any other RPGs. But more importantly, when you bring it to this RPG with these tiles, you could set up the board however you want, have a one-time shoot with your friends, create this adventure, this storyline, or if you see the movie Stranger Things, or should I say not movie, series, TV series on Netflix, just to, the reason why I'm pulling that up is just to give you a recent hint of what it is to bring your buddies and say a great adventure, be it with your family or even if you do it solo. This board makes it amazing. And look, you don't have to, oh, let me put one board, make a mismatch, and it looks like something going on. This is one big tile. It has one big landmark. You know you're in the Undercity, some labyrinth, some dungeon, whatever you want to say. With these tiles, you just put it, look at this. You have a pit right there. All right? You have a pit going on right there. And each tile also are pretty much numerated, marked I should say, and they have something going on. And you have all sorts of tiles. This one you could say, oh, there's a rubble going on there. Something happened, something crumbled, etc. You know? Or this tile is pretty much where there's a little fissure there. You can see that, you know, a little crack where small creatures or small characters can pretty much sneak through, while medium-sized or large ones can't. You know, this is beautiful. You could create that wall, etc. And then you could build another one that goes like this, you know, and the characters just have to go around, you know, to pretty much go anywhere. And you could, okay, this is pretty much your entrance, and they come here and they have to go all the way around and try to somehow get here, etc. And look, there's even a hidden stairway. Okay, imagine the scenario there, and this is some hidden body, coffin, etc. But you could create a stairway right here, and you can go beneath to another dungeon and another story. So this is what makes this board amazing in my opinion, and I don't find it bland. Yes, they could have made it a little bit darker and different texture, but they kind of make it the stony gravy tile, and you can see some blood stains here and there, which make me love it. And this is much bigger the board than what you see, and that makes it even better and more interesting. Now when you talk about Witterer's wood board, it's pretty much the same, but the only difference, as you can see, it's out there in the woods, it's out there in the forest. And for those that don't like it, I gotta say I love it, because to me, again, you have to be able to expand your imagination, and you have to be able to expand the story. Again, this board expands much more bigger than what I'm showing you, but I wanted you guys to see that. So when you go and pretty much set up the board, in this case, like I said, so, and by the way, the Witterer's wood introduce other hindrances, other kind of tiles, like this one. You can see it's marked with forest. All right, and when we do setup and playthrough, we'll discuss that more. Okay, and look at this one, it has the watermark. Okay, there's a little like pond here. But here, you could put it right here, and here you're creating your world as the druids are, you know, praying at some runic stone, etc. site. Here, let's create a little, look how it's coming together. All right. And we can create like this. You see this? See, now you're creating slowly your setup, slowly your world, and the characters come, and the board is much bigger than this, by the way, you can't see it. And these tiles and spaces bring that feeling. You're out there in the woods, you're out there in the forest, etc. And you're trying to pretty much venture forward. As you can see, I'm just slowly, as we discuss, putting certain things together into perspective, and look what we have. You see, slowly now we have a whole site going on here, and instead of those paper tiles, instead of those, you know, print and scribble and lose and frustrate and confuse. This is just put it together in a matter of minutes. Look at this. What story imagination will you come for this? Okay? Look at that. Some hidden beneath the ground, some entangled magic is going on there. What story will you say here? You know? Etc. So this is the tiles. This is the tile components, and there's much more that I'm not showing you, but I want you to see this is all that you get in all those expansions that I'm talking about. In Dead Man Walking expansion, and more important, which was a Kickstarter expansion, which you can easily buy right now online. Witterer's Wood tiles and map tile, the Undercity tiles and map tile. You've seen it all. I hope you like it, but those are pretty much my thoughts of why it is amazing. And I disagree with the other reviewers. I think it's something fabulous. I think it's something amazing. And maybe the art is not, you know, to today's standard, or there are no separate tiles, like, you know, etc. But you know what? It's about putting out the map tile, etc. And if you want a shorter map of this, you can pretty much bend the board and pretty much put it however the size you want. But my point is, where's your imagination? It's right here already. Let's play, let's have fun, and let's talk about the other amazing components this game has. Before we go on to the components of the miniatures, I wanted to talk first about the other component, which is the characters, the encounters, monsters, the dice components, the side quests. Yes, there's side quests also. So when you set up those map tiles, which I just recently displayed to you, you could just put their side quests, and you can create your own, again, for your own adventures, but they set a standard and an idea, etc., of how to do it. And if you always want, you can always get the Iron Kingdoms RPG book, and they will give you even better ideas, etc. As I in the future plan to lay out and explain even that when the time comes. But more importantly, let's talk about the components of, more importantly, the characters and what they entail. All right. So this character you pretty much get in the Black River Irregulars expansion. So this is one of the characters, and you could see its name is Ailish Gariti, and it's Arcanist Investigator. More important, look at this. This is our whole RPG right here. You got Vitality, Strength, Intellect, Perception, Defense, Armor. You got Initiative. Initiative decides who goes first, pretty much. We're going to talk that more in the setup and playthrough, but that pretty much it. You see all this come out. You got special abilities, you got even another special ability. The thing in the back I don't like. See, it says Black River Irregulars Heroes Expand. I don't like that. Tell me his story, tell me his background, let me get to know him more. I know in the adventures you create his own story, but it's good to know his background, etc. Now each character, you know, pretty much gets their own deck of cards, and that's beautiful. And in that deck of cards, before I talk about other cards, other characters, you get feats. Feats are pretty much, think of one-shot power-ups, and you can have up to 3 of them within a turn. Okay, and you can use all 3 of them if you wanted to, and they get refilled. The point is, they're one-off shoots, and most of them don't have the same abilities. Some of them share, you know, between other characters, but some of them have unique type of feats. And like this one, you could see it right here. My camera is being a little... All right. And while in the back, you see some of their ability. See, this ability card for just this character. And they cost experience. Yes, you gain experience as you play missions. And they tell you the costs for each special ability. This one is a Zephyr. And it tells you you can use any feat card as if it were Hoof It. Hoof It means play this card when you walk to move 2 spaces instead of 1. Okay? And there's the Spyglass. spell influence, 10 XP, you gain a new spell called influence, etc. Now again, it goes on, and each character in this game has their own feats and ability that you can pretty much level up. The only difference between the two, you should know, feats you get pretty much obtained without having to use any XP to purchase, while abilities you need to acquire to show and explain the storyline. You just acquired a new skill, a new ability as you're venturing in the Iron Kingdoms. Alright, so this is one of the characters. So let's see the other characters. There is Canis Gormley. She's a gun mage duelist. This is her stats. You can see she's a ranged unit. And here, there's pretty much range statistics. Okay. These are special abilities. And this is a disappointment. Pretty much nothing going on there. There's another character, Olo. He's a croak hunter. I won't even say anything. Look at his initiative. Pretty high initiative. And then you got Lanisa Ristel. I won't even try to pronounce that. Look at that initiative level. She needs Ice Storm Sorcerer. Ooh. Ice, baby. Alright, stop. Vasquez, the Knot Keeper. Black Clad Overseer. He looks like a Merlin, or, you know. Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful art. Now this one. Crappy initiative. But you can see the stats all around. Very good armor. This is her special abilities. And the thing that I didn't mention, look at that. In the top right, it tells you how the miniature would appear on the board. So if ever you're confused, what's the miniature? How does it look? Here it is. Well done. Well done in design. Here's Creed and Jagger. There's two characters in one. So here's Jagger's little special abilities, while this is Creed. And what the attack they do and their stats. And look, here it presents the miniature. Alright. Very beautiful art. Victor Pendrick. This was a Kickstarter exclusive. Skarg the Voracious. Barl Blackheel the Rulik Pistoler. Look at this, look at this. This is Pog and Doorstop. This is again two characters in one, as you can see here. This is Gardic Stonebro. You got Bastian Kinnet, the Morrowind Battle Chaplain. You got Milo Boggs, the Cutthroat Alchemist. He looks like an alchemist. Look at that. I like that. And you got Colby Sterling, military officer. Look at that gun. Look at that gun. So that's the characters themselves. Now, the dice, I'm not that crazy about it. Look at these dices. The generic type, you know, of all the love in Iron Kingdoms and all the story. This is the dice. Come on. And then for the Witterer's, you know, for the Witterer's Wood, they made this dice, which is amazing. Let's look at it. Let's look at it together and get a better idea of what they are. Look at this. Look at crocodile. Crocodile. Look at that. Now that's nice. That's unique. I like that. I like that. Now, aside from these amazing dices and every character having their special abilities, let's check out how and what some of the components are. There is event cards, and this is, let's see, villains, action, and event cards. So as you can see, this is villain action cards, I think. Yeah, villain action cards. So this is how the villains react. Close combat, they activate the villain closest to you. And this is, you see, if ever confused of what's the priority, it kind of says right there, I don't know if you could see that, lowest health. This one player to active players left. Okay? Alright? I don't know about the English there, but we won't talk about that. Lowest health, highest initiative. It's very well. Look at this art. Boss Blitz. Activate the boss villains. If no boss is in play, activate the 2 villains closest to you. Bold Barrage. So this is all sorts of enemy activation cards. And it goes on and on and on. And then you got events. Different kind of events. And you can see which base core it belongs to, which base box. U for Undercity. You can't get confused there. I like it. It's simple. You don't have to write it out. You kind of get the point. So these are events, and you see the blue markers. It's pretty much to lay you out which one is the priority, because later on, as you're going to see, I'm going to show you the enemy miniatures and enemy cards. They're pretty much, there's 2 colors that every time take priority. Actually, there's 3. There is the purple, which is the villain, the main boss villains, you know, that you'll see. They're separated in sense of miniatures. And then there is the red and white villains. I mean, red and blue villains. Hence why you see the 2 types of event cards, which is the blue ones with the markers and the red one, as you can see right here. All right. Well, it's very, very good. Now let's see some monsters. And we're going to see some side quests also. So give us an idea. Now, the beautiful thing you have to know about every villain or boss or etc. There's 2 sides to them. Hence, the regular side, which is tough as it is. As you can see, they have their own special ability. This, you see, right here, it tells you always the miniature, the design, tell you what to look for. And you see the purple, you know pretty much you're fighting some boss. And in the back is the epic level of that enemy if you want to up the challenge, or even if the campaign storyline demands it. On the bottom, it pretty much tells you the behavior of how this enemy boss behaves, which is very, very important. Some have much more behaviors, as you can see in this one. And don't forget, each of these enemies have, and there's hundreds of these cards, and they have their epic side also. All right, so let me show you a little bit more. So you get a broader idea. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. And their art are so different from one to another, depending what it is. This is a villain's actions. We're going again, villain action. Look at that. Witterer's Wood. You see that W on the bottom right there. There you go. You see that? And they always tell you the priority of who gets what in the challenge. And I'm very, very, very impressed with that. If we go even further, let's show you something called side quests, which are also part of this game. And there's quite a few of them given and provided to further the intrigue as you adventure forward. And I don't see that in a lot of adventures that I've played, those side quests, you know, that are within the storyline as you're playing the campaign scenario or missions. These are all side missions. And there's some villains here, but let's see. There's different kind of side quests. You got this type of side quest. They carry forth, like you see, card 3 of 4. So you got to complete them all to get something special. Each one is different, as this one kind of pile of coins tells you you have to pass a perception challenge. So you have to use your perception, and later on as we play the game, I'll explain more, but your perception here is 5, not that great. As you roll the dice, you have to pass that test, and something good or bad can happen, depending the scenario. But if you pass the test, I hope it's never bad. But here, there's everything here. Attempt a strength 13 challenge, and if you fail, you leave this card on the map. If you succeed, keep this card. You gain +1 strength and +1 on melee damage rolls against medium and large dice. Oh wow, that's very good. You see? So again, there's side quests. They only benefit you. They're only better. So you usually would want to do them, etc. There's no reason why you shouldn't. All right. This is, again, you look at all these cards, all these components. You have vast foes, vast enemies, vast abilities, vast feats, vast side quests. And if you bother to get the Iron Kingdoms RPG, which will enable you and educate you on how to create some of your own, you just have much more stories to share, and you could create your own characters if you wanted. But with this, there's no reason why you can't play more than what you need, pretty much. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 amazing characters. Now let's go and discuss the miniatures. So last but not least, let's talk about the amazing miniatures. You know, this game won't be complete without miniatures. Each one, based on their coloration, they are separated into categories. All the brown or beige type miniatures are the characters, okay? But the most amazing thing about them is their detail. Look at this. Can you see the detail on this character? Look at that. If you wanted to paint, they even bothered with the whole, look at that, dots, the spots, the arm, the old shields. Look at that. Look at that detail. You know, let's go to another one right here, this character. Look at that detail on this character. Look at that backpack. Look at that. Amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. And we go on and on and on. Look at the detail on this character. Look at that. Look at her. Look at her. Look at that face. Let's paint her up. Now this, every purple type miniature is pretty much a villain, a big boss, I would say. So look at them. Look at this design. Look at these miniatures, the detail, the components. Look, you can see even the scales in the back. I don't know if you could see it well, because suddenly my camera is just... See that? Look at that. Look at that. See that? The detail is immensely amazing. Now, those are the purple. Look at this one. This one is huge and massive. Look at the shoulder armor on this one. Look at that. Look at the scales on this. Wouldn't you want to paint this? Look at this turtle shell shoulder pads. I love it. Oh my god. This one can really rip you to shreds. Well, I will come and deck you a dish. And you can see the base pretty much is massive. So you know it's a large creature pretty much. Not that it's hard to see that. Now, very important, for each red encounter or villain, this is more like a villain than a boss, you have, look at that detail again, you have a blue version of it within the game. Okay, so there's the blue and the red version, and each one of these encounters, any villain encounters, have their epic side too, don't forget. So you got different kind. Look at this. Bashing gator. Look at that. Look at these miniatures. Look at the scales on this, the details. My god. Look at this one. I don't know what he is. It looks like one of those warjack mechs, really jacked up. Look at that. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Wow. Okay. This is for every type of villain monster or encounter. You have the red one. And the generic type of villains, the crossbow. But again, they still give detail, you see? No matter how generic or, non-fancy, when you compare it to this one, but then you could see this one is a medium size compared to this small base. Look at this. Isn't this amazing? Look at this component. Won't you? Wow, I'm amazed. I'm amazed by these components. Look at this. Look at the shell. Ugh. Wow. It's an angry turtle. It's an angry looking turtle. Look at that. Large creature. Like you see, this is maybe one thing. I would have loved to have the name here. Not that it won't be that complicated to find his card, but it would be nice to have the name in the base. And as you can see, they have markers right here. They're made for the Iron Kingdoms, so you know which direction they're faced, etc. So if you see, there's little markers right here. These markers are for the Iron Kingdoms. All right. All the bases have that, supposedly. So here, there's a little right here. You can't see it that well, I don't know. But they all have something that you could use within the Iron Kingdoms RPG, which I love. Like that miniature we saw in red, here is the blue version. I like it. I like it. Small creature. And a sea-ranged creature or something like that. Look at that. Fishtail. I like it. Look at that detail. It's amazing. So this is the miniatures. This is the characters as I showed you. This is, we'll see more of them live in action, but this is pretty much all of the creatures that you can pretty much obtain in all those expansions with all the characters, etc., which make it amazing in its own way. I hope you like it, but before we finish off with this, let me show you the in-game tokens quickly, of pretty much that component within the game. This is some of them. I've already stored some away. This is a health healing potion, and I like it when you use, flip it over. Empty, filled. There's all sorts of tokens, all kind of tokens. We'll see how they are pretty much played out within the scenario, etc. Like any good adventure RPG, and you could use them for anything, any purpose within your storyline adventure. They've been given to you, so use them for this purpose or another purpose. A different kind of potion. Look at that. And I love that. You don't have to discard it, just flip it over. It's used. And when you refill it, just flip it over. I always was confused. How complicated is that? Look at this. This is the 5 XP token. There you go. 5 XP. All right. And this is like an entanglement. This is your entangled. Kind of look like entanglement. I could be totally wrong. And this, you're untangled. And this is also another great thing. This is your health. And when you kind of lost this one health potion, I mean not health, but your health stat, your vitality, you flip it over and you show like you lost it. None of that, just discard it, put it aside. Avoid, the whole confusion. Just flip it over. And this is the main kind of tokens and component, aside from characters, special ability tokens, and all sorts that we're going to see in the game. Okay. Again, all sorts of tokens, all sorts there is in this game. And if ever you want to play the epic character style gameplay, you need this star marker. Now, because we pretty much explained that, let's explain this other components which are also in part of this amazing game, and you could use it however, always any component pretty much showing on the map tile. Hey, this is the exit, okay, and Osgang pretty much is the entrance to, I guess, some group or storyline, but this is exit. And this is usually when you roll the die, you pretty much know the villains that will pop up from this entrance will be whoever you roll 4 to 6. This is 5 to 6. Create your own stories, my friends. Look at this, the eggs, blue eggs, Easter bunnies, skeletons, corpses, magical, fiery. You got all sorts of that. And again, you roll the die and you pretty much know what villains they pop from this doorway entrance. Okay? You roll the die and pretty much you know what's coming. And they go on and on. And again, this is all kind of markers, story markers, etc. You create your tale and you follow the adventure, etc. And they pretty much tell you what to store, where to store, how to put it. And you, even here, you got some mechanism device that's been there. You put it on the map tile and you say, get that marker, destroy that mechanism. And once you do, it's destroyed. I like it. I like it. And instead of a range, you could say, if you roll a 1, pretty much something will be coming out of this doorway. Look at that. Ooh, look at that. An access doorway to something. It's closed. It's opened. Something amazing. They'll introduce it within the storyline missions, and we'll obviously play it. Again, there's all sorts of markers. Look at this. Hook. We don't know to what it is, but we obviously know there's a story, and you're going to figure out how to open it and close it. So, again, this is all the components. This is the Privateer Press Iron Kingdoms adventure board game. Hope you like it. Do share your questions and stay around and look for part 2, which will follow through after this, which is the setup and the playthrough all together. And I'm looking forward to sharing that great adventure with you.